everyone. I'm Jacqueline Francis, and I'm here today with my co-host, Diana Lizarazzo. Do you know why successful people only hang out with successful people? I've often wondered that. And guess what? We're here today to deep dive into this topic. So stay tuned because we're going to bring you some super juicy information.
Awesome. Yeah. That is a very, very curious question because it's something that, as I've gone from my 9 to 5 to becoming an entrepreneur or a real estate investor, now more into entrepreneur, you do start realizing why certain things happen, or basically why people start grouping into different types of groups and why that makes sense, right?
Yeah, and if we when we want to talk about our goals, now what I found in my experience is, and you're exactly right. When I transitioned from a 9 to 5 government employee to an entrepreneur, my goals were different. To tell you the truth, I didn't even have goals when I was working a 9 to 5 job. It was just go to work Monday to Friday, and my goal was I can't wait till the weekend.
Mhm.
But when you become an entrepreneur, you start to think about your life. You start to think about, well, wait a second. What goals do I want to achieve doing this? What is the purpose of me starting my own business? And it goes so much deeper than working a 9 to 5. So just there in itself, things start to look different.
100%. I completely agree. And also, even you may start off with a super vague goal because you don't even know exactly what it is that you truly want to do. But then once you get into the circles and you start learning, then you start just hearing other people, right? You may start taking other people's goals. I feel like that happens a lot when you really are still kind of a noob and don't really know what you're doing. I feel like you just start taking on other people's goals. Um, and you also get motivated by them, right? By what they're doing. And
Yeah.
so it's just there's a lot of influence that happens.
Which is a good thing, right? Like if I'm doing something that I'm unsure about, but I'm like, this really calls to my heart, and then I see you doing it, and then I see you talking on stage, I see you on a podcast, I see you somewhere, and you're like, yeah, you know what, my goal is to like change the lives of da 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 da, or to give my family a better lifestyle. Of course, we can like take those goals on for ourselves because you know what, maybe we didn't think about that. And then you are giving me the permission to go after that goal. And that's what being collaborative also is in the entrepreneur world rather than being competitive, right?
Agreed.
And then what happens? We will hang out together because we have the same goals.
And it also, even like I said at the beginning, where you set a goal, but once you start learning more in the field that you're in or more about your goal, you may realize that either it's too vague or it's not even it doesn't even work for your lifestyle, or if it doesn't work for you, whatever it can be, it just doesn't work out. But then you start refining it and realizing that, okay, how can this goal work for my lifestyle? And generally like that, like once you get into those areas is where you start seeing like that other people's goals. And like I said, sometimes you adopt some people's goals, because I can tell you one, actually, for me, what happened was I remember when I was getting into real estate, I joined a community, and they tell you that you need to have something, like you need to have a goal that's outside of the real estate, like something that motivates.
Oh, okay.
And so I was like, okay. And then because it's generally guys, obviously, in real estate, or especially in this community, they kind of incentivize you on a car goal. And I remember being kind of confused because I have really not that kind of interest in cars. Like I don't
Really?
really, I don't really care about cars. But then you're told, like, but then I was just like, okay, sure, I'll get, like, yeah, like a Tesla or something. I was like, that'll be my goal. And then so you start off because you're just kind of copying because they tell you to do something, and you're like, I didn't know what else to do. But then as things went on and you gain more clarity, because I was like, oh, this goal does not incentivize me in any way, but you're just kind of going with the flow, right? But then it changed to, what is my real goal? My real goal, outside of real estate, was I mean, I love to travel. So I was like, oh, and then that's where I was like, oh, that is a goal that I really will enjoy to have to think
Mm.
about, right? And actually, I had a much bigger goal, even that, um, like I was really incentivized by, I really wanted to get financial freedom. So that was the much bigger one too. I was like, I just want to be financial. But they tell you again, like you want something in a year. In our case, it was like something that you can achieve in a year. And financial freedom obviously was probably not going to happen in a year. So they were like something a little bit more achievable, you know?
Well, you never know. But yeah, you're right. You're right.
Too, because my goal for financial freedom was the best case scenario was 5 years, and my worst case scenario was like for sure I should be able to do it in 10. That was my range. And I actually did it within 3 years, which was incredibly shocking to
Amazing.
me. Yeah.
That is so good. So now, like, think about that, right? Like, you're setting these like super high goals. Like, I want to be financially free in 5 years, worst case scenario, 10 years. How can you then relate to somebody that has a 9 to 5? And this is bringing back like our topic, right? Why successful people only tend to hang out with successful people.
Yes, this is a great point because you go through problems and you tell someone that's in a 9 to 5, and it literally goes over their
Yeah.
head, and they give you kind of responses that you can tell that they don't understand, right? And they don't help you as a person either because you're just like, no, you don't get it, you know?
Okay, so disclaimer before you continue, like we're not saying working a 9 to 5 job is not a good thing. We're just saying that when you are in a certain industry or you're looking to do a certain thing, you tend to like attracts like. So you will tend to so if you smoke, you might hang out with people who smoke. If you go to the gym, you're gonna tend to like associate with people that also go to the gym. So we're just using like the 9 to 5 as an example because this is where we both came from.
Yes, yeah. And also like and it's also not that, yeah, like you said, not that the 9 to 5 was the problem. Is the problem was that they weren't doing real estate, which is what I was doing. So to
Right.
them, the conversations just didn't really make any sense. And they just, they don't know how to help because they're not in it, right? And they're probably
Yeah.
thinking basic different type of real estate than let's say that we the kind of real estate that we do. So yeah, it's you start realizing the importance of that. And even I think again going back to real estate, maybe we should probably do different examples, but I'm gonna go back to real estate just because obviously that's where my experience is you start looking for partnerships, for example,
Yeah.
and in these partnerships, it is obviously easier to work with someone that's also in real estate than to find, for example, someone outside because, man, people on the outside of whatever you're in, it's all fear-based
Right.
conversations, and it just makes it very hard because that kind of negativity gets to you. And so it's like let's say the two of us were going to do something, we're more solution oriented because of the community we're in, and that's just what it is that we're trying to we're it's not if we can do it, it's how are we going to get it done, right? And so when you're in communities, for example, in our sense of let's say real estate, we're more in a solution based mentality compared to when you're on the outside. You start questioning like, is that really a good idea? Do you really know
Yeah.
what you're doing? Because they don't know what they're doing,
Yes.
right? And so it's kind of I think it's all the same, right? Any community, we let's say we're outsiders to other different types of communities, and we probably would do the same thing. It's like, well, is that such a good idea? You start questioning things just because you don't know, right?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I'm hearing like, when you're an entrepreneur, you're already a little bit of you're risk averse, right? You've already decided that you're going to leave the security of a 9 to 5 and you're going to take on a business that you may have so much passion for, but have no idea how to start. Because now instead of working for a company, You are the company. You know how scary that can be to someone that is working a 9 to 5 job and they're like, oh my gosh, well, what about income? What about this? How you can pay bills? Da, da, da. Way too much fear to ever step out of that box. Not to say that people can't do it. People do it all the time. Let me just make that clear. But it originally, when you think about that idea and you've never done something like that before, it's going to create a lot of fear within your body. And it's automatically like a no. I've talked to people where they're just like, oh my gosh, no, I could never do something like that. And
Yeah.
it's like, I mean, we can tie in beliefs to that, we can tie in society, we can tie in different things. But, for the purpose of this conversation, it's just to show that, entrepreneurs look at life a little bit differently since they've already gone down that path. Could you share any examples of where you've had like conversations with friends and you're like, oh yeah, I'm like gonna do this, and they're like, oh my gosh.
I think you know what really happens to me actually more is when someone asks me a question about real estate. This happened at the beginning. Now not so much because I feel like I can gauge it better. But when you're in the beginning, you share more than you probably should. And I think you traumatize them. And also they're just like, I didn't, they're like, I just like wanted 2 sentences and now I just got like an hour worth of information that was more than I really wanted. But then when you see them going through, you see they're kind of just like, oh my God, what is this? Like, this is crazy. Um, Especially like that, when you start talking about the kind of problems that come up,
Yeah.
they think you're crazy. Um, and to be honest, I feel like while you're going through it, you feel like you're crazy because it's something new. It's very scary. You're trying to fumble through it, and getting out of the other end, you make it happen, but
Mhm.
it's hard, right? Like those kind of things are. I think those ones are always where people are just kind of like, why would you do something like that?
So let's
Like,
flip the
or
script
they
on
find
that.
being an entrepreneur very stressful, right? Like they're just like,
Yes,
why
yeah,
would
you're right, you're
you put
right. It's a lot of
yourself into this
responsibility, right?
situation?
Yeah,
And or like that uncertainty
yeah.
is such a, they almost think like you're crazy for doing it. But then usually you have other things, right? Like let's say with me, actually, I can say that I've never been for some reason very driven with money. Like because for example, I remember in I used to work at a bank, and one of the biggest problems that I notice in banks or in government type jobs is like this fear of losing their jobs. And
Mm,
so they will try to do anything in their power to make themselves not replaceable. So, for example, like documentation and things like that. Where for me, I went into this my interview. I go into this interview, and I remember they tell me, the like you may have to, because I was going to be managing 2 teams, and they're like, oh, you may be having to be part of the support team. And that to me was kind of shocking. I'm like, I'm managing these teams, but I'm going to have to do support. And immediately my response was, no, that's a training issue. If they are having problems as a sport team, I need to train them and give them the appropriate documentation so that they can do their job properly. But then I realized what happened is the person before them did not have that mentality because they thought like if they have some secret information, then they can't be replaced, right? So they would do some support stuff and probably maybe some development stuff too, I guess, um, so that so that they weren't replaceable.
yeah, that makes sense. That makes so much sense. And now, like, I just want to flip the script a little bit because we're talking about entrepreneurs and stuff, but the whole point here is to show everyone that, like, the reason people hang out with like-minded people is because they pretty much just get each other, right? So when you're talking to somebody that's going to the gym all the time, and you go to the gym, so you know what this is like, and all of a sudden you're talking to like a friend who doesn't walk at all, never gone to the gym in years, doesn't even know, like they're like, I don't go to the gym, I'm good. Sometimes it's like how do you relate? How do you, this is like a lifestyle. It's an identity that you hold. It's hard to relate to people that are not doing the similar things as you.
100%. Or when they try to play at your level and they can't. I was gonna another one. This is related to tennis. I used to play. I was like trained privately, so I know how to play tennis very well.
Oh, that's so cool. We should go play.
Oh, you know to play? Yeah. And the funny thing is, so this person was like, "Oh, you know how to play tennis?" And I think I learned this very quickly afterwards. I'm just like, if you've had a personal trainer, then I'll do it, or like group training, then I'll go with you, because we went to go play, and again, I don't think he thought. I think people think that you're just saying things, and it was like the most annoying thing in the world to play with a person that doesn't know how to play tennis.
Oh my gosh.
And
Right.
so it's very annoying because I just like, what a waste of my time. And that isn't that the same thing? You go into something, and they're, if anything, dragging you down from you trying
Yeah.
to do the things that you have to do or need to do or want to do for fun. In this case it was more for fun, but it was just kind of like, why was my time being wasted? I'm like, and then afterwards I was like, now I always question anyone that's playing, that wants to play with me. I try to understand their level of tennis, because I play better than the average.
Yeah.
I've done competitions, right? So for me, it's just kind of like, I feel bad, but I have no interest in playing with beginners. I don't have interest. Like, they have to be better than the average for me to want to play with them. Because it's
Yeah.
just kind of like, how do you play a game? I don't know.
That's so true. That's so true. Well, and this is the thing, right? And we were just chatting about this. Like, I remember a time where I'm like, if I ever got really successful, I'm still gonna like, be the same. I'm still gonna like,
Yeah.
money's never gonna change me, that kind of thing. And I played into that, like that was my story, right?
I
And then
think
I
we all do,
realized,
right? Because you see it as I think we all do, because you see it as like almost as if it's bad to change for some reason.
right, exactly. And then as I started diving into personal development, I became a coach, I started to understand like, wait a second, you have change is a part of life. You have to change. So then one day I was thinking about it, and I'm like, this is why like successful rich people really, and I mean, not that they're snobbish or anything. Maybe some are, some aren't. I don't know. But they tend to only hang out with people of their kind. So movie stars hang out with movie stars, singers hang out with singers and movie stars, and like in that like, lifestyle because they get each other. It's hard to go and hang out with your friend that, maybe can't spend $5,000 on a wallet or on a pair of shoes where your friend, that's to some people in like relative to their own understanding of life, that's too much.
Mhm.
So after a while you'll start to distance yourself and want to like you said, like kind of level up to where you are and start hanging out with people that can go and buy a pair of shoes for $5,000 or bags for $35,000. And it just and I don't think there's anything wrong. I mean, there is no right or wrong. It's just you tend to evolve, and there's nothing wrong with evolving, number one. And people then, like, when you start hanging out with those, when people that are similar to you, and this is where, side note, this is where these like phrases come from, right? Birds of a feather flock together.
Yeah.
You're the average of the five people that you hang out with. Law of attraction, which is really just simplified, like just attracts like. And when you have something that is in a match with each other, you get it. You can support each other better. You can
And
give each
to
other
be
grace.
honest, love speaking about it. Like in real estate, I can talk hours about real estate. Like, you go to real estate events and you don't get bored. I don't know. I don't get bored talking about real estate. Whereas like that, other people that are outside of it, like 5 minutes max, and they're spent. And that's the same in anything that you do. Any
Anything.
sports, anything like that, cars. You see guys talking about their cars and they can talk forever about it and talk about everyone else's cars because that is their thing. And so, and it's all like, and like you said, it's just every community has their things. And generally, once you find whatever that is your passion, you can talk about it forever, but not people that don't have the same passion.
Yeah.
And usually you get very obsessive about it.
I know. I think as humans too, like, we tend to want to gravitate towards like our own tribe, people that are like us. It gives us a sense of like security. It gives us a sense of, so going a little bit deeper, right? Um, Value. We feel like wanted. We feel like, oh my God, this person gets me. I understand. And deep down, it's like a warm, fuzzy feeling. It's a feeling of like love and comfort and you're being genuine to yourself and then in relation to that person because sometimes what happens, and I mean this happened with me with certain friends and stuff, after a while you're just like, I don't relate to them. Like I love them so much, but like I've changed, or you outgrow partners,
Yeah.
right? Because you just change.
Yeah, yeah. It's very true actually. It was really funny. I remember between like just finished university a couple of years, same thing you said, like hanging out with a group of people and it was like going to clubs probably every weekend and drinking every weekend, right? And then all of a sudden, it's really funny because me and my best friend, we were in a group. There's a group of us, but specifically me and my best friend, we seemed to evolve at the same time, which was in different ways, but we were both evolving out of the group at the same time, which was really funny
Oh,
because I was just kind of like, okay, I'm done with partying. I was just
yeah.
kind of like, okay, I did it, got it on my system. It was a lot of fun. And then all of a sudden I just became like, I'm ready to try to find someone to be with, and just like,
Yeah.
and I'm just like, I'm not interested in finding it in these clubs, like it needs
No.
to be somewhere else, right? And so this kind of thing, and it's just like people that are drunk out of their minds. Like this is not the kind of environment where I want to be finding a guy in. And then it was funny because my best friend, he was in the mode of actually like he's gonna go back to India because he wants to
Oh.
now get involved in the family business because he's done enough work experience that he feels good that he can impart a lot of the knowledge to India. And so it's just funny because we both happened to be actually leaving around the same time. I remember telling him, I was like, like this has been fun, and I'm just like, I'm probably not really gonna come around as much. Maybe I'll try like once a month, but I was just like, I'm just kind of the phase is done for me.
Yeah.
And it was just funny because he all of a sudden was kind of the same. He's like, like I'm actually, he's like, and then he's telling me that he's thinking to move in a few months, and he's been putting it like it's been something he's been thinking about. So it's just kind of funny that me and him, we both were thinking to transition in different ways, but we were, just kind of
Mm.
like we had our fun, now trying to move on to the next phase of our lives and whatever.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah. So what I gather from that is like your energy becomes contagious, right? So when you're hanging out with people that you like, your friend was like, okay, I'm moving out of this friendship situation. And you were like, well, I'm not gonna find like a husband in the club. Okay, I mean, maybe you can. But that wasn't for you. So you want to go where the energy is also the same, where people are going to like make you feel seen and heard. And that translates to not only you feeling really good, but then you being in alignment with the things that you are evolving into, right? Which is
Yeah.
amazing. You avoid drama, right?
And it is actually, it's really funny because then, like maybe, I don't know how much later, but then I actually got a boyfriend. And I remember once I was like, you know what? Let me introduce you to this group of people. And we went once, and it just was like, didn't make any sense. It was just like
Oh.
that phase is so done that it was just so weird, so uncomfortable, and I was like, okay, I was like, this is really, I was like, okay, this is very done. And we never met up with them again.
Oh my God. Yeah. And at the end of it all, it's okay to outgrow people. It's okay to outgrow versions of ourselves. I mean, that's what we have to do. Babies don't stay babies forever, right? They shed that identity, they become a toddler. Then that sheds, they become a child. That sheds, they become a teenager. We forget that there's these phases of life. But when we become an adult, all of a sudden there's this idea that we need to remain the same. We
Yeah.
may not see the growth from 20 to 40
Hmm.
because, you kind of look the same a bit, maybe a little thicker, a little slimmer, a little gray hair. But if you think about like that, baby to teenager stage, we also keep growing. In our 20s, we're different. In our 30s, in our 40s, in our 50s, and embracing that without feeling like judgment or shame or guilt around who we're becoming.
Yeah, exactly. It is. And for some reason, we put ourselves through these kind of guilt, thinking that, okay, we should still be able to make it work. But it's just like, like they were still in like this hardcore partying phase. And actually, I think one of the best ones is something that I would notice because I'm not a huge drinker. And something, for example, that happens when I go, and especially sit down dinners, I feel like I just can't do it because I'll pass out. I get sleepy, and then I'm just kind of like, do you want me to be sleeping in your house, or you want me to like have fun? Like. But the funny thing is, I think now, not as older people are more forgiving, but I felt at a younger, I felt that people felt very uncomfortable if you were sober and they were drinking. And then so there were even things like that where sometimes I'm like, okay, maybe it's better to drink with them because it's like I'm making them feel
Oh,
uncomfortable, but then now I'm doing something that I'm not really interested in
you're
doing
compromising
that
your
night.
values and who you are.
Yeah. So it's just like these kind of things where it's just kind of like maybe it was just better to just find a different group of friends, and maybe those ones you're doing it for example, like that, for that situation, like, oh, you feel like going out, going for drinks, hang out with them, and maybe it's not as often. And then you have other groups of friends where it's like you do other activities, maybe
Yeah.
sports or something, or whatever it is, a different type, going for walks or something. Actually, I personally like that. I like having different groups of friends because feel like I have so many different types of interests that is just like if I tried to find one person that does everything I like to do, it'd be probably impossible to be honest.
And I think you've hit it on the nose. So two things I want to touch on with that. It's not just because you're younger, because I stopped drinking 2 years ago, and so that was 2023. And only this year I was like, okay, I can have a drink here and there, but it was just so much more in control. As me being in my adulthood, that doesn't change. People still feel uncomfortable. People still feel like they are, oh, why aren't you drinking? Is everything okay? Like there's something wrong. It's like it's socially unacceptable not to drink.
Yeah.
And people don't, and I mean, I'm not going into this whole like story about drinking and why I'm not drinking. You don't need to know. Just know
Mhm.
that I don't associate with like I don't drink, period. I don't go to explain myself. And again, it comes back to the identity that I hold, right? Once I was associated with drinking and partying and all this stuff, and then all of a sudden my identity changed. So when you're still hanging out with the same people, it's like they feel bad about you not drinking.
Yeah.
And I get that because they remember you as that version that did do that. So it's like they're almost wanting that same person back, and it's hard for them to kind of wrap their heads around,
This
hey, maybe
person.
you've changed. Yeah. And it's more uncomfortable for them than it really is for us.
Yeah, it is. It's true. Well, I think you still feel it, but yeah, it's probably in that sense, it is probably more for them because they're still stuck in that phase, and,
Yeah.
and it's like I've moved on into something else,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
and it's just like that person just doesn't exist anymore.
Right? And this is where things can get hard because you literally have different values now. And friendships can fall off, relationships can fall off. People in your life tend to like leave because they're no longer like associated with who you once were. And then they can't wrap their heads. They can't like, say, "Oh my God," like they don't have anything in common anymore, basically is what I'm saying.
Yes, yeah.
And to your
And,
second point, sorry, yeah, go ahead.
no, no, no. Finish your point.
To your second point, I've heard that you cannot. Oh, I've heard what you said in terms of like having different friendship groups in relation to partnership. So I was listening to a podcast one time and they were saying there was a relationship expert on that was saying like there's no way you can find the one partner that's going to support you in every area of your life. So for me, I was like, you know what? That makes a lot of sense. Like they are there, yes, to support you wholeheartedly, but sometimes they're not there to share certain things with. or to,
Tennis, you know,
yeah,
you
like
might
that
not
whole,
know how to do that. And
right,
again, it's going to be a waste of
exactly.
time for who, you know, for the both of us, to
Exactly.
be honest.
So I feel like it's true. You should have different friend groups because you're gonna have the friend group that you can shoot the shit with. You can have a friend group that you talk business with. You can have a friend group that, hey, you know what? You just have an interest in tennis.
Yeah.
Because like we're so multifaceted,
Yes.
right? There's not a one single person. We don't sometimes we don't even get ourselves. How can we expect one single other person to get us? All parts of us, right?
Exactly.
But
Yeah.
then you have different friends that pour into you just like you pour into others, and you know, you touch that part of them. And then there's another person that gives you this part of you, and someone else that gives you another part of you. And I
Mhm.
think it's so beautiful, right? Like the whole idea of like a village raising a child is like that. Like it's a village of different people that add to our experiences.
Agreed. Yeah, I completely agree with that. And yeah, and I think when it comes to going through that change where you're ready to make a change and to become whatever that new version is because it's related to whatever your new goal is that you're going after, it's also trying not to feel guilty about it
Yeah.
because not only are you getting outside people guilt tripping you sometimes without them probably even realizing, to be honest, but they're guilt tripping you because they want you to be in their circle and not leave them. But
Yes.
also you yourself are guilt tripping yourself. And I think running on fear because now you're just like, oh my God, I'm building this new person now.
Yeah.
And who is this new person supposed to be like?
You feel bad for changing. Like you literally will feel bad for wanting to move your life in a different direction that doesn't align with maybe people that you grew up with.
Yeah.
And
And I think that, and then the fear also gets involved because you
yeah,
also, especially at the very beginning, you're trying to figure out what that identity is,
yes.
right? And then so you're basically working in the unknown because you don't even know exactly who it is that you need to be to satisfy the goal that you're actually wanting to achieve. So then you're also, kind of failing, moving forward, failing, moving forward, and so these things, it is tough to change, and with the guilt trips from the outside and the inside, and then the
Yeah.
fears going on because you're trying to figure out even who is this new person, like what
Yeah.
does this new person have to be so that you can achieve the goal.
And remember, we're so tied to habit. We're so tied to wanting to stay the same because our body does not want change, right? It tries to do everything that it can to stop us because, you know, we've talked about this before. The subconscious mind loves to keep us safe. It doesn't know that we're actually doing something in our benefit to elevate our life. It's still stuck in like, who knows when, in a privative mind of like run danger, there's something that's going to attack you and you're
Here,
like, oh
right?
wait, I'm just, yeah, but I'm just trying to do this, you
Yeah,
know.
yeah. Yeah, it's so true. So that's like an on top, another layer on top, there's just so many things. Our mind all just doesn't want us to change. There's so many things trying to stop us. And so it's, if anything, pivotal to make sure you get into the groups that are involved in what you want to achieve, whatever your goal is, because they are a huge support system. Because not
Yeah,
only they can get tips from them on what issues they've come up with, but sometimes you need that moral support. Sometimes you need the visual to see them going through their goals.
yeah,
And because sometimes you go through downers and you're just like, man, I suck at this. Like, why am I so bad at this? And then you're just watching these people doing their thing, and then you're just kind of like, okay, just, and then you start, giving yourself the pep talk, right?
yeah,
So there's just even so many different purposes for being around the people, being around the right group of people that will help, that are in the same kind of goal as you, that can really help you out. Because it's very easy to get demotivated, especially when you're doing things on your own. And I think that's probably 90%, probably 99% of the failures is you're doing it on your own. And
yeah.
and people thinking that not doing it on your own means it's like an actual partnership, but there's so much more involved. Like, you don't have to be partners with someone. You can still have your own business, but you have friends and different people you follow, so many different things around you that help support you to achieve whatever that goal is, be it losing weight or like that starting a business or I don't know, getting a new hobby or going for a walk. Sometimes just even something simple of going for a walk, but you need that accountability partner to
Yeah.
just get you started because maybe you don't like going for walks alone and it feels weird or something. Who knows, right? Or just to get started is kind of annoying, right? And sometimes
I
you need that
know.
person to push you.
Right, yeah, exactly. Like if you're trying to lose weight, who wants to hang out with a friend that always wants to go out for dinner?
Yeah,
Right? I
yeah,
mean,
like
I
you're
love
not
you,
helping
but
at
hey.
all.
Yeah. So this is why, I mean, tying it all back now, this is why successful people only hang out with successful people
Yeah.
because of the mindset, because of the value, because of the way that it makes you feel, and because of the community that you build together. You can get so much further faster when you're surrounded by like-minded people, when you're in groups and communities that help you elevate, because not all the time are like our regular family and friends supportive or understanding of the vision or the goals that's given to us,
Mhm.
right? As much as they love us, but people who've buried their dreams, they are the first ones to give you a shovel to bury yours.
And generally, I feel like in my experiences also because you're bringing up the fears in them too that you're having
Yes,
because
exactly.
they start thinking about it and they're just like, oh my god, this is so daunting, like you're gonna have to do this, you have to do that, how are you gonna do it, how is that gonna happen, and then they just like you start snowballing all these
Yeah.
fears.
And they love
They
you. They
Yeah,
love you, so they care, but you're like, I don't want to hear that.
yeah,
Right?
like it's more like you're asking all the questions that I'm asking. Now I need someone to give me solutions and
Yeah.
right? So it's just like you need to be around the people that have already done it so that because they have the solutions, right? You don't need any more questions. I'm sure you've asked yourself all these questions and put enough fear inside of you, right? So you
But
don't
you're
need those
taking the
people.
action. You're taking that's what sets you apart from everybody else. You've actually decided to take the action. Whereas some other people may just talk about it, right?
Yes, yeah, 100%. Yeah. I love this. This is a great topic. Any final words, or did you want to do a recap of what we talked about?
I believe that when you are ready to elevate, like, don't shame yourself for holding a new identity. Don't shame yourself, feel guilt, or have any fear of leaving things that were in your past behind. You can release with love. You can send so much love to that version of you that was once a match to those things. And you can know that it's good. It's so your life's purpose almost to keep growing, to keep meeting new people that's going to show you more things about yourself that you need in this lifetime to reach your goals. So don't be afraid. And if this is a really interesting topic and you want to dive deep or there are fears coming up, you contact us and we'll be happy to jump on a call. We'll be happy to share more and to walk you through and get you feeling really good about the decisions that you're making in your life.
100%. I love it. Yeah. If you guys ever want any advice or even share in the comments too, if there's even
Yeah.
share your stories of where you've seen these kind of things happen, where you've gone through an identity change and what you saw happen around you and how you were able to actually complete that identity, like what you did to be able to change your identity. Yeah, because I feel that also people think of identity change as you're not being authentic to who you are, for example, right? And so it's
Mhm.
just realizing that it's you're bringing out another side of yourself that you're discovering,
Yeah.
and you're, if anything, being more true to yourself.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. There's so many. I mean, we should do a show on debunking myths,
Mhm.
okay?
Yeah,
Because there's so many of these things that we can like pick apart because society's told us this is how we need to be.
yeah,
And we hold on to it, but it's so not true, right?
100%, 100%. Jacqueline, it was always so much fun to chat with
Oh
you.
my God, we have the best conversations.
And thank you everyone for watching. Keep us posted, share your stories, and we'll see you all in the next episode. Bye, Jacqueline. Bye, everyone.
Bye.